Morning, Jacob. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. So I got a haircut, right? And
Hmm.
you know what that means?
What does that mean?
We're starting something fresh. I only get a haircut when, either one, my wife tells me it's time to get a haircut. Two, I'm going to a job interview, or three, we're starting something new.
I like that.
You curious about what I'm starting?
Yeah, I'm
You
very
already know.
curious which one of those it is, but yeah,
We're starting a new business, a new jewelry store, right?
nice.
Funny thing is, I told you that I'm not passionate about jewelry, so you might be wondering, why are you starting a jewelry store? Well, for one, it's what I know, but also I think I'm starting this for my wife. She's gonna manage it. She's gonna be the owner of it, actually. I'm gonna have her run it. I want to have multiple streams of income for my family. I have a 1-year-old baby now, so I'm kind of thinking, all right, what can we do to help support our family, and also provide more time to so we can be together, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just being out working all the time. So this will start off as maybe more of a home based kind of thing for her. But I'm gonna share every step of the way here. So we're gonna start a new series here about how to open a new jewelry store, right? In case someone out there might want to follow us and see how we do. It's gonna sort of be in real time. So if I fail, you're gonna see me fail. It's not gonna be like one of these videos where the guy has already gone through the process and picked out the thing that works and post. This is how right? No, it's
Right.
if I fail, there's So before we even launch, right now we were sort of in the brainstorming phase,
Yeah.
and I wanted to kind of bounce these ideas off of you, since this is Bad Business
Mhm.
Friends. You can work as my bad business coach, sort of, right?
Mhm.
So the five things I wanted to start discussing before we even start the business is the name
Yep.
brand, type of jewelry we're going to sell, build a customer avatar, right? Who's my audience? Uh, Supply chain. Where am I going to get my jewelry? Who are going to be my
Right.
suppliers? That's important. And how am I going to sell this thing, right? Um, is it going to be brick and mortar retail? I'm going to go online, and I think you can already guess where I'm going to focus my energy. But those are the five things we're going to decide. So just to start at point one, personally, to me, this is the least important fact. You could probably decide this last, just right before you launch. But the brand name, how important is a brand name? I think in jewelry, you might think it's really important. I mean, but you'll hear me say, I don't think it's that important, to tell you the truth. But I don't think you should think so hard on it that you can't start your business, right. I don't think it's that important,
Yeah.
because I had this discussion with my wife, because I already had a name in mind. I bought a couple domain names, just to let you know. Um,
Mm.
they're just sitting there, but when I named them off, my wife was me like, "That's a terrible name. What?" And I kind of pushed back and said, I don't think the name is that important. So tell me what you want to name it. And she couldn't think of anything. And I said, like, the value is actually built and cultivated over time, right? In a
Yep.
brand. I think most of
Mhm.
us think, like, you have to think of a great name, and customers will love it. But let's think of some of the biggest brands. Like, I think of Apple comes to mind. And
Mhm.
I've said this too before. I said Apple could have been Orange Computer Company. Honestly, like,
Right.
the value in the brand was built over time, and in the products they delivered, and their marketing, and how they executed their business. And so,
Yeah.
I think you could start a business with any name, and if you deliver quality and you deliver something people want, and you have great messaging, that creates the value. The name itself, I mean, not that important, right?
Right.
Anyway, like, after the debate, a few days passed, and I think she came around to the name that we decided upon. And at the end of this, I'll share with you what that name is, and you might not even like it. I haven't told you the name,
Oh yeah, I'm excited to
but
hear it.
I know you had a few thoughts on how important a name brand is. You sent me this. I'm gonna share it with you.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
talk about it, because I know you had
That'd be
some.
awesome. Yeah, I had some thoughts because you gave me a little brief about what was going on, and I completely agree with you. I think it largely doesn't matter what your name is. Look, the biggest company out there, right? Amazon,
Oh
right?
yeah,
One of
that's
the largest
another one.
companies on the planet. Amazon, you could theorize and say why Jeff Bezos thought of that name, and oh, it's I've heard people say it's like the Amazon rainforest, how there's
Well, they
so
started
many
out selling
species, and
books, and that has nothing to do with
right,
rainforests.
nothing to do with it exactly.
They
And
should have
so,
just launched with Barnes and Noble Killer.
right,
Well, actually,
and
all retail killer now at this point.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I
That
don't
on
know. I
later
don't know
on,
what these are here that you have on your slide, but a lot of
yeah,
these names aren't the easiest to say, and actually only a few really, to me, relate to what they do. Like I think Microsoft kind of tells you their software. Airbnb,
right. Yeah,
the B and
I
B tells me
think
about bed and breakfast, but other than that,
this slide actually up top here. These are we'll transition into logos here. I think that's the other thing people get hung up on. So I think they get hung up on names. Like, what is a name? It's so important. If we get it wrong, our whole company's doomed to failure. Look, a way that it could help is if your name's related to what you do. I think people get it. It's
well,
easy, whatever, right?
I'd have to agree with logo. I would start with your name being your logo because
Yep,
you can't start with a Nike swoosh because you haven't built the
correct.
brand equity yet, right? So nobody
And it
knows
makes
what
no
that is.
sense. And yeah, it's just kind of like, why? What? Okay, it's cool, but like, you know what I mean? But yeah, these are these logos on the left side that were the original logos of these companies. Very simple. It's their names. I mean,
Sure.
the one that stands out to me is like Spotify, how like hideous that one looks, and um, it's just funny. It's just
Hmm.
these guys didn't. I've heard Facebook spent a lot of money trying to figure out their logo color and all those things, but I don't think a lot of that is necessary, especially with the fact that there's one common theme, okay,
Well,
amongst
probably
all
over
these.
time they did because and
Right.
they had the money to spend to do the psychoanalysis of the colors. So
Exactly. Exactly. But when you're first launching, I mean, the theme of all of these, look how huge these companies are: Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Airbnb, Spotify, Pinterest, eBay. Huge companies, right? And the one theme is none of them kept their original logos.
okay,
That's the one theme you see here.
this might show my ignorance a bit in the business world, but what
Hmm.
is Revolut? I've never heard of that.
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea. They were on this list here.
Why did you put it on there then?
I can look it up later, but to be honest, I was more focused on the larger names because here's the thing. Like I said, the common theme amongst these huge brands is none of them have their original logos anymore. They all kind of on the right side, which is interesting, all kind of have this similar theme. I don't know if you see that, but it's almost like a more modern, sleek theme, and I'm wondering if they're just kind of
Yeah,
all
I think they all
trying to
evolve
match the
over.
times, right?
That's what they do. Yeah, they just want to stay
Yeah,
current, and so they're going to
right.
continue to change over
Exact,
time.
which is a great example of below Coca-Cola, right? A brand that's been around for a long time.
They haven't really
Um,
changed their logo very much at all.
it hasn't been a ton. No, I mean, there's derivatives we can see, but um, Coca-Cola. I mean, look at their original logo. It's and don't get me wrong. Back then, 1886 is probably you're not expecting anything fancy or
I'm surprised they had
ornate,
that.
but
Is that like
I
that
mean, the
font? I thought they
simplest,
only had like
yeah,
typewriter typeset font or something like that.
right. And so it looks like in 1900 was what looks like their modern logo. Like it looks like it hasn't changed much since
1900, yeah.
1900. But
Okay.
even look at 1890, how different and strange. It looks like it was an experimental logo
Yeah,
almost, you know?
that looks more like
Uh,
artwork and than a font.
right.
And then they
But they
switched
they
to just
produced it
a
and they switched it.
random serif font in 1985.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously none of this affected the sales of Coca-Cola, right? I mean, they could have put a CC, they could have changed the color, they could have been whatever it was,
It's
right?
that
But
consistent formula, and it's a trade secret, so
yeah,
they don't have it patented. And the way they have the formula made, it's fragmented so that I think only two people are out there really know.
the whole formula, right?
but it's you can't replicate it because I've tried generics. I've tried when I had SodaStream, I'd buy their brand of like syrup, and it just doesn't. It's not as good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
classic
wild.
Coke. Anyway,
Wild to
you
think.
know, I so this just goes to show that I mean, to me, it's more about your image, keeping up with the times, but the
Hmm.
brand building happens with delivering the best product or service.
Yeah. Understand. Could you
Some
go
of
to
this doesn't even
I
look that
think there's
great to me,
actually
honestly.
yeah, it's true. Could you go to the next page? There's this is the last page here. Just to review quickly. I mean, these are different industries, different brands, right? But Apple's original logo was so complex, and I think it was Sir Isaac Newton sitting under his tree, I believe, or something along those
Really,
lines. And yeah, and it lasted, I think, for a year, and that's when they went to the Apple
I don't like
shell.
any of these logos, tell you the truth, but I
Right.
definitely respect all the companies, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that's the bottom line is I mean, look at the shell logo, it's hilarious. The original shell logo was a black and white shell that barely looks like a shell. You
Yeah,
know, it's hideous. But
yeah.
it's almost like you're focusing so much on that thing that you can't even get in the mindset of
That's
going, let my products and services just speak for themselves, you
I think
know?
no, I agree. That's your best marketing value. I think most entrepreneurs kind of understand this that logos aren't and name brands aren't as important as people think. Of
Mhm.
course, if you talk to a lot of marketers, they'll tell you why and they'll give you like they'll write a dissertation on how important this is. But
Yeah.
let's be real.
I
I hope
just
I'm not
a quick
offending anyone, but
no, no. I mean,
the
look,
10
there's just
viewers we
a
have.
exactly. A quick anecdote about that is even with Revival when we were first starting, I had a company prior to Revival called Revival, and it was geared towards New Orleans jewelry and trying to create that stuff. And the company had been, it was an experiment. It didn't go anywhere. It just kind of faded off into nothing. And I remember we're going into, I had a meeting down here with someone I was recommended to, and I'm sitting there. He's a marketer, and he's like, in with his team, and they're drawing, kind of our jewelry concepts on the board. Like, okay, well, let's come up with a name. And at the end of the day, he goes, okay, well, if you want the services to come up with your name, it's going to be $40,000. And I thought, okay, we haven't sold one product, right? But $40,000 for a name and basically a color palette, right? And I remember walking out, but actually, funny enough, before we left, I told him, I said the working title is Revival, but that's only because it was the last company I had, and we didn't have another name at the time. And so I told him at the beginning of the meeting as we're leaving, he goes, honestly, why don't you just stick with that name? And I was like, Revival for the lens stuff, and he's like, it's a good name, And I said, all right, well, we'll think about it. We walked out, right? And as we're on the escalator, we're leaving. I looked at my dad and I was like, "Yeah, Revival, because we're bringing jewelry to life, with the lens stuff." I was like, "It's bringing jewelry to life," and we ended up doing that. We ended up sticking. And I'm like,
Saved
if we
forty
would have
thousand dollars.
saved $40,000, that's the point. Is you have people who will charge, more or less, whatever, but you could save yourself that money, from just going with what you want to go with. And if it changes, it changes.
Yeah. I mean, when you're starting a business, you don't have that kind of money. So, and these sorts of incremental changes have very little effect in the long run, but it might be worth it when you're really big, right?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
may help your brand image, and if it makes an even 0.2% change in sales or something like that, it might be worth it when you're a $1 billion company. But when you're first starting
Correct.
out, I think it's one of the lesser important things. I think we spent enough time talking about
Yeah.
brand names and logos, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna end this one. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next week when we talk about what products we're going to sell and where we're going to get it. See you later.